The Devil's Playground, The Case of Jeffrey Epstein and the Shadows of Power. The story of Jeffrey Epstein is not just a tale of a man who exploited the vulnerable, it is a labyrinth of power, privilege, and perversion that stretches into the darkest corners of elite society. It is a crime novel written in blood, money, and silence, where the victims are silenced, the powerful are untouchable, and justice is a commodity traded behind closed doors. This is not just a story of one man's depravity, it is a story of how the world's most powerful people allowed him to thrive, enabled him, and, in some cases, may have even joined him in his descent into darkness. Now, before we move on, please help a small channel grow. Please like and subscribe. If you have any comments, good or bad, leave them below. Back to the story. The monster in plain sight. Jeffrey Epstein was a man who should have been easy to spot. He was a financier with no visible means of legitimate income, a self-made billionaire whose wealth seemed to materialize out of thin air. He lived in a $77 million Manhattan mansion, a sprawling Palm Beach estate, and a private island in the Caribbean he called Little St. James, which locals dubbed Pedophile Island. He flew on a private jet, the Lolita Express, which shuttled him and his powerful friends between his homes and other destinations. He surrounded himself with young girls, many of them underage, who were recruited under the guise of giving massages or working as assistants. But Epstein was not just a predator, he was a puppeteer, pulling strings that reached into the highest echelons of power. The question is not how Epstein got away with his crimes for so long, it is who let him. The answer lies in the web of connections he cultivated, a network of billionaires, politicians, academics, and celebrities who either turned a blind eye or actively participated in his world. Among them was Donald Trump, who once famously said of Epstein, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." Trump was not alone. Epstein's Rolodex read like a who's who of the global elite: Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Alan Dershowitz, Leigh Wexner, and countless others. These were not casual acquaintances, they were frequent flyers on the Lolita Express, guests at his parties, and beneficiaries of his largesse. Clinton, for instance, flew on Epstein's jet at least 26 times, often with young women in tow. Prince Andrew was photographed with his arm around a 17-year-old victim, Virginia Giuffre, at Epstein's Manhattan home. These men were not just bystanders, they were part of the ecosystem that allowed Epstein to operate with impunity. The victims, silenced and betrayed. The true horror of Epstein's crimes lies in the stories of his victims, many of whom were girls from broken homes, struggling families, or foster care. They were lured with promises of money, modeling careers, or simply the chance to escape their circumstances. Once in Epstein's orbit, they were groomed, manipulated, and abused. Some were passed around to his friends like party favors. Others were trafficked to his private island, where they were subjected to unspeakable acts. One of the most chilling aspects of Epstein's operation was its brazenness. He didn't hide his crimes, he flaunted them. His homes were filled with young girls, many of whom were visibly underage. His staff knew what was happening. His pilots knew. His friends knew. And yet, for decades, no one stopped him. When victims came forward, they were dismissed, discredited, or paid off. Epstein's lawyers, including the infamous Alan Dershowitz, worked tirelessly to silence accusers and secure sweetheart deals for their client. In 2008, Epstein was finally arrested and charged with soliciting prostitution from minors. But instead of facing the full force of the law, he was given a slap on the wrist, a 13-month sentence in a private wing of a county jail, where he was allowed to leave for work during the day. The deal was brokered by Alexander Acosta, then a U.S. attorney and later Trump's labor secretary, who later admitted that Epstein's connections made him untouchable. The victims were never informed of the deal, and Epstein's co-conspirators were never named. The power of money and influence. Epstein's ability to evade justice was not just a matter of luck, it was a testament to the power of money and influence. He surrounded himself with powerful people, not just because he enjoyed their company, but because they provided him with a shield. When you have friends in high places, you don't need to worry about the law. When you have billions of dollars, you can buy your way out of anything. Epstein's relationship with Donald Trump is particularly telling. The two men were close for years, with Trump attending parties at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion and Epstein visiting Mar-a-Lago. Trump once joked, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with." But after Epstein's arrest in 2019, Trump distanced himself, claiming they had a falling out years earlier. The truth is murkier. Trump's name appears in Epstein's flight logs, and at least one victim has claimed she was recruited at Mar-a-Lago. Whether Trump was directly involved in Epstein's crimes is unclear, but his association with Epstein raises troubling questions. Epstein's connections extended beyond Trump. He donated millions to Harvard and MIT, where he rubbed shoulders with some of the world's most respected academics. He cultivated relationships with powerful figures like Bill Gates and Prince Andrew, who have both faced scrutiny over their ties to him. He even claimed to have ties to intelligence agencies, suggesting that he had dirt on powerful people that could be used as leverage. The mysterious death on August 10, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The official cause of death was suicide by hanging, but the circumstances were suspicious. The cameras in his cell malfunctioned. The guards who were supposed to be watching him fell asleep. The autopsy revealed broken bones in his neck, consistent with strangulation rather than hanging. Conspiracy theories abound, with many speculating that Epstein was murdered to prevent him from naming names. Epstein's death was the final twist in a story that reads like a crime novel. It was a convenient ending for the powerful people who had everything to lose if he talked. But it was a tragedy for his victims, who may never see true justice. The shadows of power. The case of Jeffrey Epstein is not just about one man's crimes, it is about a system that protects the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. It is about a world where money and influence can buy impunity, where the rich and connected operate by a different set of rules. It is about the victims, whose voices were silenced for decades, and the powerful men who looked the other way. Epstein may be gone, but the shadows he cast remain. His story is a reminder that the world is not always what it seems, that the powerful are not always who they claim to be, and that justice is not always served. It is a dark, twisted tale of greed, corruption, and evil, a crime novel written in real life, with no happy ending in sight. And the question remains, who else was involved? The answer may lie in the shadows, where the powerful continue to hide. Please like and subscribe.